evening, you're watching Estuary News, I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, a man is charged with murder after the death of a woman in Louth, further strike action at Hull College, and hundreds of artefacts moved from Hull's Arctic Corsair ahead of her move to a new home. And later in tonight's programme, I'll be talking to Adam Fowler about Bike Week, and before that, the Chief Executive of the Grimsby Institute Group, Jill Alton, on getting an OBE. A man has been charged with the murder of a woman in Louth. 35-year-old Marie Gibson was found dead at a property on Lacey Gardens on Saturday afternoon. 27-year-old Shane Murphy of Little Lane in Louth appeared at Lincoln Magistrates Court this morning, charged with her murder. There'll be further strike action at Hull College next week. Union members will walk out for another 7 days in a continuing dispute over plans to cut more than 200 jobs. The Hull College Group plans to make 231 full-time equivalent posts redundant across its 3 sites in Hull, Goole and Harrogate as part of a 5-year plan to recover financial stability. The strike starts next Monday and goes on until the 27th of June. Humberside police are tackling domestic abuse as the World Cup season gets underway. Throughout the tournament, the force will be highlighting the common signs of an abusive relationship and the support available to perpetrators and victims. The force says major sporting events don't cause domestic violence, but alcohol consumption during and after matches can increase the risk of criminal behaviour. During the 2014 World Cup season, Humberside police logged 1,657 domestic abuse-related incidents. A member of the Libertarian Party says it could be that politicians should be rewarded better for their work. Will Taylor says it's difficult to make a full-time living in politics unless you have a private income.
They do deserve to be compensated for what is actually quite a large personal sacrifice. And there is part of me, reluctantly, does admit that maybe we do, to attract competent people into those kinds of positions, they need to be compensated more greatly. I mean, isn't it strange that you can earn far more in the private sector delivering a service that is useful and being productive and being a benefit to your community and society by giving some kind of service. You can earn far more in the private sector doing that than you can in politics, where your job is to try to maintain some kind of cohesive community and try to make things better.
And you can see that interview in full in Hot Topic tonight at 8:30 here on Estuary. Police have released this e-fit of a man they'd like to speak to in connection with a robbery in Bridlington. The incident happened around 9 p.m. on the 30th of May on Martin Road when a teenager had her mobile phone stolen by a man on a bike. She was left shaken by the attack. The suspect is being described as having no front teeth. Meanwhile, police are appealing for witnesses after an elderly man was robbed in Grimsby. The robbery happened on Rendell Street around 1:30 on Friday afternoon. The 81-year-old man had his passport, birth certificate and sentimental items stolen. He was not injured, but he was shaken. The suspect is described as white, 6 foot tall, with fair hair, and was wearing blue shorts, T-shirt and trainers. Anyone with information is asked to call Humberside Police on 101. Hull's Carnegie Heritage Centre is 10 years old. An event was held recently to mark the anniversary with the Lord Mayor of Hull in attendance. Fred McNamara brings us more.
The Carnegie Heritage Centre is celebrating 10 years of preserving local and family history in Hull. A special event was held over the weekend, with an emphasis placed on the volunteers who offer their services to those keen to discover their histories.
Well, we've been in the building for 10 years now. We opened the building in 2008, and we thought it was an ideal time to mark our success and to let people know of all the activities that go on here. So all the volunteers have put their own exhibitions together to show just what they do when they're volunteering and coming in here. Usually people come in and use our resources and then say how interested they are in something. And, they ask if there's anything they can do to help, and that's so we have a talk and they start volunteering for us and doing their own things. That's how we get people involved.
No matter what research we're doing, if a member of the public come in, then we're at their disposal. Somebody can walk in and say, my granddad was in the Royal Navy and I want to know more about him. And they'll get asked, do you know his name? Do you know what ship he was on? And then it will get passed to various members of our volunteers, some who might know something about the ship, some who's willing to look into it more.
We run a basic and an intermediate course for family history, but then we also have volunteers who can explain and help people if they get stuck with the family history. And so that's how people really come in here. We've got a lot to go on, we've got a lot going on, so they get involved in that way.
Several people in our region have been named in the Queen's Birthday Honours List. Councillor Patricia Bradwell was responsible for Children's Services at Lincolnshire County Council, and Debbie Barnes, the Director of Children's Services in Lincolnshire, were both given OBEs. Karen Ho was awarded an OBE for services to children with special educational needs and disabilities in Grimsby. Mary Nelson from Waltham, near Grimsby, received her OBE for 40 years or more of service to the Girl Guides Association in Lincolnshire, and the Chief Executive of the Grimsby Institute Group has been awarded an OBE for services to education. Grimsby Institute, of course, owns Estuary TV. I spoke to her, Jill Alton, OBE, earlier about receiving the honour. Jill, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
You must be thrilled.
I'm absolutely delighted. A little overwhelmed, but absolutely delighted.
What exactly did you get this great honour for?
Well, services to education, but, that's we're a team and it's a team effort, but apparently they can only recognise one person, and I just happen to be the head, so I've been the fortunate person to get it.
So you do the usual humble, gracious thing that people get when they get a gong like this and say it's really all for the team, but it's not really, it's all for you, isn't it? It's a proper, well-deserved pat on the back for you.
Yeah, but you're only as good as your team, aren't you? And whilst I'm very grateful and I'm delighted I have got the honour, the success of Grimsby Institute is every member of staff who works here.
Is this going to get you better tables in restaurants?
Oh, I hope so. I'm a bit of a foodie.
It's as you say, it recognises the work done by the whole institute. It's done by the work you've led it to. But what has that achievement been? What's been going on at the institute recently that you've initiated, as it were?
We've had some huge successes. I mean, we became Ofsted Outstanding last year, one of only 2 nationally in the year. We have rebranded one of our campuses, and that's making huge progress, and is really becoming quite an iconic educational provider within the Scarborough area. Skegness has been revitalised. We've just had TEF Silver for our HE in recognition of our brilliant HE. We've won Beacon Awards. Actually, we've had the most phenomenal few years that sets us apart, I guess, and that's why I've been fortunate enough to be recognised.
When do you go and collect your gong?
I don't know yet. They in the letter they said it would be about 5 weeks before they notified me of a date, and then it would be within 8 weeks. So this time between now and September, I would say.
And how? What sort of occasion are you going to have to find yourself going to in which you can wear it?
Oh, I don't think I will wear it. I can't imagine ever going to anywhere where that would be appropriate, to be honest.
You'll have to wear it. You have to wear it on the day you get it, won't
you?
Oh
yes, yes.
Get lots of photographs.
Yes, lots of photographs, particularly from my mother, who is more excited than anybody.
Well, she's rightly proud, I'm sure. What do you think of this, though? The Order of the British Empire, the honours system is always a little bit controversial in this country. The British Empire. So you're an officer of an empire that consists of Gibraltar and the Falklands.
Yes, you're always controversial.
It's a little bit of an outdated concept, isn't it? I'm not trying to diminish your achievement.
No, I know. You could argue that, but for me, I'm just looking at it in a very simplistic way, which is that this organisation has been recognised for the work it's done in further education and the lives it's changed, the lives it's enhanced, and the dreams it's fulfilled, and that's how I see it.
How are you going to celebrate on the day you get it? Because you can't just rock up to Buckingham Palace, pick up a medal, and then just get on the train at King's Cross and come back to Grimsby. That would not be an appropriate way to celebrate.
No, I shall persuade my husband to take me and my mother and my friend to a beautiful restaurant, and we'll have some champagne.
Jill, congratulations. Well done.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
A hospital team has been recognised as one of the best in the country after halving the number of older people admitted to hospital unnecessarily. A multidisciplinary team of specialists in elderly medicine at Hull Royal Infirmary is working alongside A&E staff to help 70% of patients go home on the same day. More than two-thirds of people over 80 were being admitted to hospital until Hull and East Yorkshire Hospitals NHS Trust introduced its frailty intervention team last year. Before that, 67% of older patients attending A&E were admitted onto wards for tests and examinations. A new report has, is that what we're doing? The East Riding, has renewed its status as a fair trade county to help improve the lives of farmers and workers in the developing world. The fair trade status has been renewed until 2020, following the work of the Fair Trade East Riding Network, or FERN, which works in the county to support fair trade. Join me after the break. Jack will bring us a roundup of all the weekend sports news as ever, and I'll be talking to Adam Fowler about possibly trawlers, but certainly Bike Week in North East Lincolnshire. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, Jack brings us a roundup of all the weekend sports news, and I'll be talking to Adam Fowler about Bike Week in North East Lincolnshire and other things. North East Lincolnshire Council has been awarded more than £200,000 to tackle rogue landlords. The money from the government's Controlling Mitigation Fund will help the authority to identify overcrowded and poor quality housing and take action against landlords in breach of legislation. A total of £232,500 has been awarded to the council. Nominations are now being sought for North Lincolnshire's Community Champion Awards. Run by North Lincolnshire Council, the awards encourage people to nominate those who have dedicated time to volunteering or have made some other contribution to the local community. Categories include Young Volunteer of the Year, Community Champion of the Year and Anti-Bullying Champion. The closing date for nominations is the 30th of September this year, and nominations can be made via North Links' council's website. The awards ceremony will be at the Baths Hall in Scunthorpe on the 22nd of November. An event to get people to talk more openly about death is being held in Hull this week. Organised by City Healthcare Partnership, it'll help health professionals and members of the public find out more about planning for the end of life. The partnership hopes to stop death from being a taboo subject. There'll be interactive workshops and activities where people can make a memory box and talks on organ donation. Music provided by Hull Community Voices Choir and Hull and East Yorkshire Hospital's Positive Note Choir. The event will be at Hull City Hall on Thursday from 10 a.m. Now, today marks the start of National Bike Week in North East Lincolnshire. It's an annual event to promote cycling. I'm joined now by Adam Fowler of the City of Hull and Humber Environment Forum to tell me more, and he will also tell me about the Arctic Corsair, which he saved back in the day. Let's talk about the bicycles first, Adam. Thanks for coming in. What's going on with bicycle? Well, with the event, it's called Bike, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's National Bike Week, and here in North East Lincolnshire, we've really got on board and we're really pedalling along with a series of events. So we're running a series of what we call Dr. Bike sessions. We ran one today just off the fish docks where the public can come along with their bike in any condition. We'll give it a bit of a health check to make sure it's roadworthy, and working in partnership with the Grimsby Cycle Hub, which is in the railway station in the middle of Grimsby, they come along and fix the bike's basic repair. So we're doing that throughout this week in National Bike Week. And did you know there's 3 million people cycle to work for at least 3 days a week? And we want to increase that figure. Obviously not 3 million people in North East Lincolnshire, but we want to increase that figure here in North East Lincolnshire because there's many positive reasons for cycling. Well,
we'll come on to them, but you've got another couple of events you should probably trail. You're in Top Town Market Hall in Grimsby on Friday.
Yeah.
That's between 10 a.m. and 2 o'clock, and that's bike surgery. That's sounds a bit drastic. That's the same sort of thing, fixing people's bikes for them, is it? Giving them a bit of advice?
Yeah. So we've got a stall in Top Town Market this Friday, as you say, between 10 and 2. And what that's about, for example, people often say to us, yeah, I get the bike out, but I just need a little bit of support, maybe plan a safe route to take the kids to school or something on a bike, or going into work. So a bit of advice and tips about how to stop your bike from being stolen, for example, basic advice on bike maintenance as well. And we've got another event tomorrow afternoon where you can bring your bike along to the Freeman Street Market between 11 and 2. That's on Freeman Street. And then we've got another event up at Euro Park further on in this week as well. So we've really spread the number of events through. And then next week, next Tuesday, we're doing another event in Cleethorpes where, again, you can bring your bike along and get it checked.
That's at the Pier Gardens between 1 and 3:30. Is it healthy, this bicycling business?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And with the sun being out like it has today in Grimsby and across the Humber region, what better time not to get your bike out? And that's what we want to do. We're part of something called Love to Ride. I'm the coordinator in North East Lincolnshire, and in partnership with NG and North East Lincolnshire Council, who provide a lot of the funding for this and really do encourage people to get out there cycling. It's good for you. We know there's health statistics which say you're more alert if you're biking to work. Cutting down on pollution, of course, we're cutting down on congestion, and you just generally feel better in your well-being. So this is something that it is a win-win-win-win-win. And this week, if you log your ride into work on our special website, our Love to Ride website, lovetoride.net/any links, if you log every ride in, and not just this week but ongoing, you could win yourself either a European break or a free bike every day.
We've got to move on to a different sort of vehicle entirely now. The Arctic Corsair, you were involved in her preservation when? Back a long time ago. You're not going to tell me. How very coy of you. 1991. What's happening to her now?
So when we put the funding package together, when I persuaded the council to buy it, and of course it's been open since 1998, very successful museum, run entirely by volunteers. But where I put her back in the 90s is on the River Hull behind the museum's quarter, but she's gathering a lot of silt, and that's affecting how the water flows, and it's basically now becoming a flood risk. So as the Environment Agency is upgrading all the flood defence works on the River Hull to stop the area from flooding, because it's quite a lot of it's low-lying, they're going to have to move the Arctic Corsair to stop the water from flowing around it. And then as part of this multi-million-pound development, when Hull City Council was successful last year, they're going to move the Arctic Corsair in a couple of years' time, because initially, although she will close around about mid-September, and they're taking the artefacts off at the moment, but she's still open to the public, she will be put in storage for about 2 years. Then undergo a major refurbishment because she's not been put in dry dock.
Where will she be lying eventually?
And then eventually she'll be moved upstream behind the big Hull College building as part of a major maritime heritage project, primarily funded by Heritage Lottery Fund, but also Hull City Council.
I look forward to seeing her in her new moorings. Adam, thank you very much for coming in. Here's Jack with all the sports.
Some big breaking news coming out of Grimsby Town today, with the club confirming they've appointed a new assistant manager. Anthony Limbrick, seen here on the left, joins as the assistant to Michael Jolly, following a spell in charge of non-league side Woking. Joining him is Adam Forrest, to the right of picture, who takes up the role of assistant coach. Forrest previously worked alongside Jolly at Swedish club Eskilstuna. Both men will report directly to the town boss and form part of a new-look coaching team going into the new season. Meanwhile, Hull City midfielder Jackson Irvine played a starring role for his country over the weekend. The 25-year-old came off the bench to set up the winning goal in Australia's 2-1 victory over Hungary on Saturday. Irvine's cross was diverted in by Hungary captain Tamas Kadar as the Socceroos were victorious in their final warm-up game before the World Cup. Irvine and his teammates arrived in Russia yesterday ahead of their Group C first group match against France in Kazan this coming Saturday. Also in Australia's group are Denmark, who last qualified in 2010, and Peru, who haven't been at the tournament since the 1982 one in Spain. It was a mixed weekend of results for fans of both Hull clubs in Rugby League Super League. First up, Hull FC ran in 7 strides as they thrashed Salford Red Devils 45-14 at the KCOM Stadium on Friday night. The Black and Whites dominated from the off, scoring 6 unanswered tries to go into half-time 37-0 up. Jack Downs, Jack Logan, Hakim Maludi and fullback Jamie Shaw each ran over for FC in the first period. Jake Connor completed a personal haul of 17 points, with 7 conversions, a drop goal and a late penalty. Beretta Faraimo also starred with a hat-trick of tries, getting Hull's one and only second-half try. Head coach Lee Radford will be pleased with the side's response after last week's painful Challenge Cup exit. Meanwhile, it was another bad weekend for Hull Kingston Rovers as they lost 26-4 at league leaders St Helens on Friday. The Robins found themselves 18 points to nothing down at half-time, and they never recovered from it. It was an error-strewn performance by Tim Sheen's side, who were punished by Saints for several moments of sloppiness. Junior Vivai did pull a try back for Rovers in the second period, but it's now a 13th defeat out of 17 Super League games for them this season. After that result, Rovers still find themselves 11th in the table, while rivals FC sit pretty in 5th. And finally, in cricket, Cleethorpes' dismal form continued as they lost to Aston Hall in the Yorkshire South Premier League Division on Saturday. Aston Hall set a big target of 276 after finishing on 275 for 4. In reply, Cleethorpes were bowled out for 153, with Bill Kirby top scoring with 59. That's his 3rd successive half-century. Former Zimbabwe opener Vusi Sibanda also hit a quick-fire 37, but it was another defeat for the Meggies, who sit 10th in the table. They had a much better fortune on Sunday, though, as they beat both Treaton and Wakefield to reach the final of the Yorkshire League T20 competition. Opener Alex Osmond hit 60 to help see off Treaton, before an unbeaten 94 from that man again, Bill Kirby, secured a place in the grand final, with victory over reigning champions Wakefield. The finals, made up of Cleethorpes, Barnsley, Hallam and Tickhill, will be played at Chichester Road on Sunday, July the 1st. And that's all for today's sport. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Jack. That's it for tonight, I'm afraid. If you want to see the Arctic Corsair, beautiful trawler in Hull, then you've only got till September before she's mothballed for a couple of years. If you've a news story for us, then Facebook or Twitter are available. Email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472315553. Or you can always write to us the old-fashioned way, Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN34 5BQ. As ever, until tomorrow, from everybody here, good evening.